Callback challenge 1 with TypeScript. Create a function add2 that accepts one input and adds 2 to it. Create a function add2. So const add2. There's our function. So this part is done. The function accepts one input and adds 2 to it. So the input must be of type number because it's going to add a number. So I'm going to say num, and it is going to be of type number. So it's one input called num, and it adds 2 to it. So it's going to take this parameter and it's going to add 2 to it, like that. Let's see what happens when I do this. So I'm going to console log add 2. I'm going to console log this function, add this number 3 as the parameter value, and I wanted to set to do 3 plus 2, so I want this to console log 5. Let's see what happens. So I am going to say npx ts node call back challenge underscore 1.ts, and it gives back undefined, and that is because this function here is not returning this value. It doesn't say return, does it? So I'm going to write return in front of it, and I'm going to try this again. Now you know that the function is returning something. It's returning what this is doing. Then we also know that the type it's returning is a number. There. Try again. We're all good. This is challenge 1. Challenge 2. Create a function add s that accepts one input and adds s to it. Create a function add s. Like so. It accepts one input and adds an s to it. So this is of type string, so my input will be a string as well. So I'm going to input my argument of type string, and I wanted to add s to it. So word plus s, and this is a string like that. Then we need to know if we want to get this back in the console log. Remember, if I run this now, it's going to give me undefined. So let's check that out. Number 2. Undefined, undefined. When I return it, like so, it's going to give me pizzas, because I entered pizza, it added the s, and bagel, it added the s. Great. So the return type is a string. There was challenge 2. Challenge 3. Create a function called map that takes 2 inputs. Const map equals, it takes 2 inputs. an array of numbers and a callback function. And I can see here, there, an array of numbers and a callback function. Okay, so an array and the callback function there. The callback function add2 we've had before, so I'm just going to copy that one. Copy. There. We want to have the map, so this function here, return a new array. Okay, so we're going to create an array in there. Const new array. Like that. And we also know then that we want to return this. So at one point we have to return the new array. Good. But of course we don't want to return an empty array. We want the new array to be filled with numbers that are the result of using the callback function on each element of the input array. So the array here has 3 numbers and the function adds 2 to it. So it's going to be 3, 4 and 5. Alright? So 3, 4 and 5 we want back. So what we can do is we can say we take in the array and then for, you see here, for each, and it helps us already here, for each element in the array, what we can do is we can say for the new array we want to push, and then we have to run this function here on the element there. Let's just get rid of these squiggly lines here. We know that this one is an array and we know it is a number array. The function here, we can say type add to function type equals, and we know that when we hover over this that it is num of type number returning a number there, so that we can say this is of type add to there. Okay, we know this one. The new array, we know this is going to be a number array there, and I can see this went wrong here. There, that was correct. Okay, let's run this. No, I am actually not even calling the function, you see that? Because I need to call it on number 3 here. Good, so this is what we wanted to have a map return a new array. Yeah, we have that here, filled with numbers that are the result of using the callback function. Yeah, it's a result of calling the callback function on each element of the input array. So let's go through this here. We have the map function. It takes in the array, this one, and the function. This function, we have it in there. Then we define a new array here, constant new array, an empty one. Then for each of the elements, so number 1, I'm going to say for the new array, add 2 to number 1, and it puts it in. And it does that for each of the elements, so for 1, 2, and 3. And then it returns the new array. That's what it's been doing. Okay. There's another way of doing it. I'll show you that one. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to comment this out. There. So I'm using Command Shift 7 on the Mac, which is then going to be Control Shift 7 on your Windows machine. And I'm not sure if I just copied it now correctly. Copy. There. I can also do, instead of this one here, I can say array no for something something do something something. Okay, so for, and then I'm going to say let I equals 0, I is less than array dot length, because it's 3, and then I do I plus plus for each. So the item is first 0, then item is the smaller than the array length, and then does I plus plus, it adds 1 to it. Then what I can do is I can say new array dot push, and then I'm going to call the function add to, and in there I'm going to add the item. Array item. Did I do this correct? Let's have a look at these squiggly lines where it says argument of type number or undefined. So there's a type there. It's not assignable to parameter of type number. Type undefined is not assignable to type number. So it's afraid that it can be undefined. But we know that it is not possible here. Okay? And because of that, I can put an exclamation mark behind it. In TypeScript, the postfix exclamation mark here removes null and undefined from the types of an expression, because we know this is going to work. Okay, let's try it out. There we go. So that's another solution. Now there is a third solution that I can show you as well. So let's have a look. For the third solution, I'm going to copy this. Oh. Comment it out. Paste it in. Take away the syntax. And what I want to do now is the simplest solution, where I'm going to take the array and map over it. So what I do then is with every item in the array, I'm going to look at every item, and all I want to do is add 2 to it. There. Now all I need to do is return it. There. Let's have a look if this works. Great. This was challenge 3. Challenge 4. The function for each takes an array and a callback. The function for each takes an array and a callback. and runs the callback on each element of the array. For each does not return anything. So it wants us to create a function called for each, like this. It takes in an array, and we can see below that this array here is an array of type string, and it's also taking in this callback function here, this one, which I will call it callback, and I'm gonna say it's of type any for now. There. Actually, let's just do it properly straight away. So we can say type, and let's call this callback type equals, and we check here, where we say that here, like so. Oh, there. There. So the function for each takes an array and a callback and runs the callback on each element of the array. So what we can do is we can say for, and then we do something with that. So for, and then we'll say I equals 0. I is smaller than the array dot length, as we've done before, and then we do I plus plus again. So similar to the previous one. Then what we do is we run the callback on each element of the array. So basically this. Let's have a look. Function for each, so this function here, takes an array of type string. We know that from here, because that is the first argument, first parameter, and it takes in the callback function, that is this one here, and then for every element of the array, that's what we do here, for every element of the array we run the callback. So on the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. Let's have a look if it works. It should return A, B, C, D. Okay. Wait, what have I done here? Let me have a look. A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. It does it a few times. Why is that? Can you see it? It has to do with this line here. So it's doing it once, twice, 3 times, and 4 times. 4 times. That is also the length of the array. So we do it, we say A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. But really, we only want to do this on the index. So we try again, and now we get A, and then we run on the second one B, third one C, and D. Wonderful. That was challenge 4. Okay, challenge 5. Rebuild your map function. This time, instead of using a for loop, use your own for each function that you just defined. Call this new function mapWidth dot. So call this new function mapWidth. We see that here. Console log this. And then the output should be this. Okay, and let's see here. I've got it already there. No, I don't need that line. There. Good. Let's start then with creating this function const mapWidth equals there. That's this thing. And what we want to do now is we want to rebuild the map function. This time, instead of using a for loop, use your own for each function you just defined. So let's see here. Here's my for each. This one here. And I want to include that too. There. And my mapWidth function here, this one here, is taking in this number array, and it's also taking in this add2 function, and this add2 function, I need to add that as well then. So let me just find that in the first challenge here. I need that one as well. There. So I'm going to add that, add 2, and what type is this then? Here. Remember we've done this. So we can say type equals there, and I'm going to say add to type and copy that in here. Okay, so now I have my map function here. This is the array and that is the add2. Now let's write the syntax, the code block in here, and we want this output. So 1, 2, and 3 goes in there, and 3, 4, 5 should come out. So it wants me, instead of using a for loop, use a for each function. So let's do that then. So for each, and that is this function then that they want me to use. So for each, and then for each, you can see here, array, and then the callback. Okay, so for each item in the array, and then what I want to do is for each item, and this item here is going to be a number, and what I want to do, actually I want to create a new array. So const new array, which is going to be a new array there of type number array there. So then I want to push that into my new array like so, and then I use the add2 function. Oh, not down there, in here, and I use the item there. Why is there a squiggly line here? And that is because it's saying here argument of type number is not assignable to parameter of type string. So let's have a look. This here, look here, it's not a string this time, it's a number this time there. let's go up, rebuild your map function. Okay. Instead of using a for loop, use your own for each function. So this function here that you just defined. I did that here, right? Let's see in number 4. You see how I did the same? And then for every array, I put in the array, and then for every item in the array, I run the add_to function and add it to my new array. Okay, let's have a look. Number 5. Something is wrong. Can you see what it is? Undefined. Remember we've had this before? Yes, we forgot to return the new array. There. Let's try it again. Yes, the output is correct. This was challenge number 5. Challenge 6. The function reduce takes an array and reduces the elements to a single value. So that's what reduce does. For example, it can sum all the numbers, multiply them, or any operation that you can put into a function. So we have 1, 2, 3 digits here, 4, 1, 3, and we want to add them up so that the total becomes 8. So we want 8 as an output. 4 plus 1 equals 5 plus 3 equals 8. Oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Now let's have a look then. They want us to create a function called reduce. So we start with that. Reduce equals there. Then we know that this is taking in nums, which is a number array. It's also taking in this function add. So we're going to say add. And add is of this type here. We don't want any's, so we have to fix that. So we can say type add type equals that. And then we can say this is of type add type there. We know that these two here are going to be numbers. So number and number. And we know that the output is also going to be a number. There. And the last one here, this is the initial value. So I'm going to say initial value. And this is also a number. There we go. We know this is going to be a number. And the same counts for B, which is a number. Now let's just read this again. The function reduce, so this function here, takes an array, we see that here, and it reduces the elements to a single value. So let's have a look here. We want to take each one of these, and run the function. So we can say 4, and then we know from before that, let's have a look, was it here? Here we go. We can copy that, 4, and instead of array, we do have to say number this time. Nums, I mean, nums. Okay, so for each number in the numbers array, what we want to do is we want to change the actually I'm going to say value instead. The value, we want the value to add them up. So we're going to run the callback function here, and we're going to say value and every item in the numbers array. So, and we want to ignore the undefined here, because we know this is going to work. So I'm going to put my exclamation mark behind it. There. The last thing we need to do is return the value and double check everything. So I have my numbers array coming in, I have my callback function here coming in, and I've got the value coming in, which is a 0. For every element in the array, that's what it does here, the value is going to be an addition for each of these elements. So the first value is going to be 4, second value 1, and the last value is 3. So the end value here is going to be 8, and that's what I'm going to return. So let's check this. And we are correct. Challenge 7. Construct a function intersection. Construct a function intersection that compares input arrays and returns a new array with elements found in all of the inputs. Bonus, use reduce. Okay, so I'm gonna skip the reduce. I'm just going to filter. I think that's easier. So I'm going to say const, and we're going to call this intersection. There. And in here, I'm going to take in 1, 2, 3 arguments. And I'm going to call it R1, R2, and R3. So array 1, which is an array with numbers, and it counts the same here and the same there, like this. And what do I do with these arrays is that I'm going to say result equals, and I'm going to take the first array here, so array 1, and what I can do with that is that I can do many things, but I'm going to filter, the filter method. And what I want to do there is for every item in the array, I want to check with array 2 to see if the item is in there as well. If it is, we have a result. Let's just check this. And let's see what happens then. I'm going to call this 7. Let's see what happens. So we have 5 and 15. 5 and 15. So you see that's correct. But I want to know, are they also in the third array? So I need to continue with that. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to keep result here. And this time I'm going to say, I'm going to take the value of result, which is an array of 2 numbers, and I'm going to say result.filter again, and I'm going to do the same, but now with number 3, with array 3. So array number 3, and that includes item. There. We can check it once more. Yes, and we can actually see that it is true. Okay. And then of course what we need to do is, instead of console logging it, we're going to return it. Return. Let's check it again. Okay, so what then if the 5 was in here and in there, but not in the last one? Let's have a look. Yes, it's taken out. So now only 15 is in all 3 of them. Great. Challenge 8. Construct a function union. So the function is called union, that compares input arrays, 1, 2, these 3 arrays, and returns a new array that contains all elements. If there are duplicate elements, only add it once to the new array. Preserve the order of the elements starting from the first element of the first input array. Bonus, use reduce, which we're going to skip. So first thing is, of course, to create the function itself. Now, what I want us to do is the following. In the end, we want one array, a new array, that contains all elements. If there are duplicate elements, so for example 5 can be found here and there, so it's a duplicate, we only want it once in the new array. 10 is there and there, so it goes in. 15 is also duplicate. Then the next one, 88. See, is not a duplicate, so we put it in there. So for every number, where if it's a duplicate, we only take it once. So all the numbers are in there, but they're all in there only once. And they are in sequential order. Now, let's have a look how we do that. First, let's create a new array. So we're going to say let result. And we know that's then going to be a number array. And in the beginning, it is an empty array. Great. Now, let's combine these 3 arrays into one. So we say const combined equals. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the spread operator. So I'm going to take everything from array 1, and actually I'm going to call these array 1, array 2, and array 3, and I'm going to put them in here. Array 1, array 2, array 3, like that. And I know that this is a number array, and I know the other ones are 2. So I'm going to copy them over. There. So I'm going to combine these. So array, I want one array. So I've got one set of these, and I'm going to put everything from array 1 in there, everything from array 2, and everything from array 3. There. Let's actually console log this and see what we get. So I'm going to call this one here. And now you see I have one array, but with all the numbers and the duplicates. And I only want them in there once. I only want them in there once. So what I need to do now is I'm going to say for, and I'm going to say for every item of combined, I wanted to do something. So for every item, so for the 5, I want to do something. For the 10, I want to do something. For the 15, I want to do something, etc., etc. And what do I want to do is, I want to do this here. If, let me write it down. I'll explain it to you in a minute. So here, for every item, what I just said, 5, 10, 15, if the item is not included in the result yet, push it in, push the item in. Only if it's not included. And then in the end, we want to return this one. So return results. There. Okay, let's try it out. There we go. We have one array and every number is in there only once. Challenge 9. Construct a function called object of matches, an object of matches, that accepts 2 arrays and a callback. Object of matches will build an object and return it. To build the object of matches will test each element of the first array using the callback to see if the output matches the corresponding element by index of the second array. If there is a match, the element of the first array becomes a key in an object, and the element of the second array becomes the corresponding value. Okay, that is a lot of information, so we need to break it down. We'll start with the first sentence. Construct a function called object of matches that accepts 2 arrays and a callback. So const object of matches, and it accepts 2 arrays. So I'm going to say array 1 and array 2 and a callback, and I'm going to call it callback. Object of matches will build an object and return it. Okay, let's first see the first array here is an array of strings like this. The second, the same. The callback, let's have a look, is this one here. So let's have a look. I call that, and I'm going to say type callback type equals, let's do it again. Copy there, and I'm going to say this is callback type, like that. And it's not any, we know this is of type string, because we're going to use with strings here, and every string should go to uppercase, so the return is also a string. There. So a little mistake here, so there. Now it's clear, 2 arrays and a callback here. Object of matches, this function here, will build an object and return it. So let's say let result And now this time we're going to build an object, and the object has a key and a value, it said. And the key is of type string, and so is the value there. Now we need to do the following. I'm going to write it down first, because I think that is a little bit easier. I can probably copy this from here. Is it from 7? Nope. Okay, I will just type it then. So what have we done here? We said let result is of type this, and actually I'm going to take that out. I can say type, and I'll say object type equals, and I'll just take this out here. And I'll stick that in there, so I can stick this in here. So it's an object where the key is a string and the value is a string here, and we initialize it with an empty object here. Then what we do is for each element in the first array, we're going to run it through the callback, which capitalizes it, right? That's what we do here. Okay, if, and ignore the exclamation mark here, this is just so it allows for undefined. Look here, if I take it away, it's complaining about argument of type string or undefined is not assignable to parameter of type string. Type undefined is not assignable to type string, and I just don't need to worry about undefined for now, so I can put the exclamation marks in there, and there, and there. Now, so if the first element in the first array matches the first element in the second array, then we add the first item in the first array as the key and the first item in the second array as the value to the result. And we do that for every element. And this bracket should actually be here. So let's see if this works. And we have an error, and the error says, let's have a look. Do you see it already? I'm going to take it away here. What is it complaining about? Can you see? Semicolon, no semicolon. There. Clear? And now you can see it works.